Hey, welcome back guys. This is going to be just a quick tutorial going out to all the people who are previewing Hellion at this moment. Since we had some issues recording our last play video too, we're going to do this little recap of what you need to do in order to navigate and scan in the world of Hellion. We know that the menus that you people have been going through aren't fully finished at this point, and we're still improving them, so some of these options might not be as intuitive as we might have wanted to make them. So we're just going to show you a quick tutorial on how to scan for objects and how to actually activate your ship's warp drive and navigate the Hellion system. Alright, so to start, first thing you need to do is online the capacitor and provide enough power for the ship. Now, as you can see, the fusion reactor is online, however solar panels are offline, so let's online them as well. There are two sets. And then we're going to online the capacitor. Now the capacitor is going to store the excess energy that we need in order to engage the warp drive, as it consumes a lot of power. Alright, so now let's go over to the warp drive itself. It's over here. And do not be alarmed by this little object over here. The singularity cell detonator is not exactly a bomb, it is simply a part that is necessary to actually start consuming the warp cells. Alright. The warp cells themselves have a duration that you can see and inspect on the navigation panel. Alright, so in order to start, sit down in your chair, and you can see all these buttons down here. I'm going to zoom in so you can check them. They're engine, nav, docking, headlight, and scanner. Over here, you also have the FTL. So, in order to warp and move around the system, the engine system, I have to apologize at this point, is still being tuned, so there is no fuel for the engine, so do not worry about it. You can use FTL instead. So, in order to start, first thing you need to do is online your FTL. So, activate this little button over here, and you will see that FTL has gone from red into yellow, meaning that it's right now powering up. Once it goes green, you're ready to go. Now, in order to actually navigate through the system, what you need to do is access this little button over here. It's the navigation pane. And this display is going to open. It's going to show you the map of the Hellion system. Your location is indicated with this little triangle over here. Now, you have several options here. When you double-click one of these, it's going to actually zoom in on the parent location that you're orbiting on. There's also another option that you can check. So as you can see, this is a planet. We are now in the moon that's orbiting this planet. So we can zoom again until we get a more detailed and local map of the orbits around this moon. Now this here is our location. Now it has junk, but don't worry about it. Those modules are debris modules out there, but it just registers them like that, so don't worry about it. You can also do this by clicking the home station, and it is going to automatically zoom in on your home base location, just in case you need to get back quickly. The other option you have is zoom to parent. It's going to automatically zoom to the object you're currently orbiting. On occasion, the interface may glitch a little bit, so zoom to parent is going to fix it. Alright, so one of the things that you need to know is what you can do with this panel. Now, right now, I'm going to lift up my visor so we do not have any distortions. Now, scanning is how you find objects in the world of Hellion. Some big ones, like the asteroids that you can see over here, are always visible. However, you can activate your scan and then give it a little time. It takes some time to process all the information. And once the scanning is done, it is going to show a number of objects that are in close proximity to your ship. Now, as you can see, this is a cloud. This cloud represents several objects which are now in close proximity of your ship. The scanner strength is not enough to fully identify them, so they're shown like this instead. So what you can do in order to actually try and find them is change your orbit using the warp drive. So we're going to go to the option of add custom orbit. So just right click on a planet or a moon and click add custom orbit. You will receive this little green line indicating the orbit. So once you click on this dot, it's going to show you a number of parameters, and it's also going to activate this little panel down at the bottom of the screen. So what you can do here is actually drag your orbit any way you want. These are just some basic settings. So let's just say that we want to find this little object over here. to see what it is. So by using these options, you can actually make your orbit intersect this little ring, this little cloud, if you want, that we would actually like to analyze. So we're going to reduce our orbit a little bit here so that we're intersecting the cloud practically through the middle. Although you can pretty much change any of the parameters and values of your orbit using just these buttons. These are essentially coordinates. Should a friend of yours tell you the coordinates of his location, or all written down here, what you need to do is locate the planet where he's at and create a custom orbit that closely mimics the coordinates he gave you. Then use scanning button and you will be able to find him if you approach the right coordinates. So in order to warp, we're going to move this little dot over here, which indicates our position on the orbit where we want to be. Now there are several ways to move it. We're just going to use this one, I believe. Yes, we're going to just set it up over here. And what we're going to do now is just put it right in the middle of this little unidentified cloud over here. So once this is done, in order to warp, you click Warp Drive, then you click Activate. The Warp Drive, the FTL maneuver menu actually is going to pop up. There are several things that you need to worry about. You have your warp cells, along with the fuel remaining within them. You also have the option of choosing one of 3 possible warp speeds. Each cell provides an additional boost to the speed if you choose to use it. So, for now we're going to use just warp 1 because this is a very short distance, and warp 1 uses the least amount of fuel. So now you see that when the maneuver has been activated, you have these 2 little squares over here. You can move them manually like this, or you can actually adjust these 2 sliders over here. Both are necessary to execute a full maneuver. These 2 represent your starting point in time and your arrival point in time. Since all objects in the world of Hellion are constantly moving, you need to tell this navigation menu where you want to be in the next 4 minutes, and it's going to plot a course accordingly. So what we're going to do now is going to set the activation time for 40 seconds from now, and then we're going to we'll first go through some other options. Now here you see acceleration is too high. Acceleration too high basically means that Warp Drive has a minimum acceleration or speed, if you'd like, and that means that you simply cannot arrive at that destination in 3 minutes. You must set a lower desired destination time, a lower set arrival time, in order to effectively execute the maneuver. So now we're going to adjust these numbers a little bit. As you can see, now it says that the FTL drive is ready. Now we can use our FTL drive to actually initiate the maneuver. So let's do exactly that. Oh yes, another thing is that on occasion might tell you that acceleration is either too low or too high. Too low means that you need to go either higher warp or set a point a little further in time when you want to arrive. These are divided into hours, minutes, and seconds. For most short warp distances, like the one we're doing right now, just a few minutes is more than enough to actually warp, while for long distance jumps, for example, between other planets, you might need a lot more fuel than this, and you will also need a lot of time. Usually it's measured in hours. Alright, so now let's reset the maneuver. The warp fuel consumption, as you can see here, is pretty much negligible in this case, and same goes for power consumption. So we're going to initialize the maneuver. You can see that the maneuver initialized over there, message, and now we need to manually align our ship with the destination. Now you have this little red marker. You can see it in the middle of the screen at the moment, and what we need to do is turn our ship towards it in order to find the white marker that is going to indicate that we're on the right course. Now you need to align it correctly so it turns green like this, and then wait. 5 seconds before the maneuver is ready, you will be prompted to activate it. You just left click and the ship's navigation is going to do the rest. So we're now in warp. As you can see, you are not locked into your chair for the duration of the maneuver, so you can move to the ship freely, gear up, suit up, or repair some of the broken down systems whatever you choose to do in this case. So once the maneuver ends, we should be arriving at our desired destination. You can also activate your map in warp and see how your orbit basically changes to match with the desired coordinates. So once we have arrived, as you can see, there is pretty much nothing here. That is because we warped at custom coordinates. Now we're going to activate the navigation menu once more, and we can now go to remove coordinates. As you can see, a new orbit around the ship has now been placed. So we're going to do the scan again and see if we can find the object that was hiding within this little cloud. As before, it takes a little time for the scanner to fully activate. And there it is. Over here we have a ship. Also keep in mind that most modules, station parts are actually identified as ship by your navigation system. So now that we have a concrete location that we want to warp to, we can just right-click at it and activate the maneuver again. This is a very short distance, so we're going to activate just a single cell using warp 1 because it has the lowest acceleration. We're also going to adjust our start time to something like 40 seconds in the future, and then we're going to bring these values. These are really sensitive at the moment, so keep in mind that you will need to adjust it correctly. All right, so we're going to arrive in couple of seconds. So just right click your destination, execute the maneuver if you already see the orbit. We initialize the maneuver again, and as before, we're going to correctly align our ship with the marker. And this marker has a tendency to just jump all over the place a little, so just eyeball it for a little bit until you get the correct positioning. And once you are in the correct position, you can shift to stabilize your ship. Wait for until a 5-second mark and activate your warp drive. And sometime later, the engine is also going to become fully operational, and you will be able to use it for these short distance maneuvers without wasting your warp cells. Keep in mind that basic engines, main thrusters of the ship, are much slower than warp. So these travels might actually take more than a few minutes. All right, now we have arrived at the destination, and as you can see, the object is now targeted on the ship's contact list over here. So let's see what we got. This looks like a corridor or an airlock module. We're just going to do a quick check. No, this is actually a cross intersection. As you can see, this is one of the corridors that can be attached to your station. And that's how you actually find objects in the world of Hellion. This is how you expand your base, by finding these modules. Then we'll show it here real quick, activating the docking interface using R to switch over to the grappling system and dragging these modules back to your home location. And for the end of this little video, this little tutorial on navigation, we're going to go back to our home base. So we just click our home base. As you can see, some more bits have disappeared. This is the little glitch we've been talking about. So just go to zoom to parent and then go to home station. You can also activate the warp drive. Go to zoom to parent, I'm sorry. And you will see the maneuver pop up once again. As before, select your warp cells, reduce these times or increase them according to your distance and the amount of time, how soon you want to arrive. And as we've said, as before, just real quick set it down. These are a little sensitive now. All right, initialize the maneuver and you can go back to your home base. Well, thank you all for watching, and I hope this video is going to help some of you navigate the world of Hellion a little better. So, until next time.